Welcome to Heart Over Gold, the channel where love, kindness, and humanity shine brighter than any fortune. In today's story, Eliza Vance was a woman people thought they knew, an heiress with elegance, charm, and an enviable life. But when whispers of betrayal reached her ears, she chose a path no one expected, faking her own death to unmask the truth. Behind the mask of grief stood Marcus Holloway, the ambitious lawyer who claimed to be her loyal ally, but whose thirst for power was darker than anyone imagined. As the clock ticked toward 9 in the morning, the hour Marcus declared her end would come, Eliza stepped out of the shadows, ready to turn his deadly game against him. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share your thoughts in the comments, and keep up with our latest stories. This is the story of Eliza Vance, a woman who clawed her way to the top through determination and sharp business instincts, building a chain of luxury car dealerships across California. She had everything: wealth, influence, and what she thought was a loving marriage until a single crash shattered it all. The first thing Eliza registered was pain. A heavy, pounding ache spread through every part of her body. Her eyelids were too heavy to lift, but her thoughts began to clear. She could hear the steady rhythm of hospital monitors, footsteps echoing on linoleum floors, and the muffled conversations of medical staff. Fragments of memory trickled back, driving home, her phone buzzing. Marcus panicked about some urgent problem at work, the bridge, her foot slamming the brake and nothing happening. The horrifying jolt of the car speeding instead of stopping. The guardrail, the plunge. Eliza tried to open her eyes, but nausea forced her to stay still. Then the door creaked open. "How is she doing?" asked Marcus, her husband of 8 years. Relief washed over her. He was here. Everything would be okay. No change, Mr. Thorne, a nurse answered softly. "The doctor will update you soon." "Thank you." His tone was tight, strained. The nurse left, and silence filled the room. Then another voice spoke, low, familiar, and disturbingly intimate. "The doctor says she may never wake up." Marcus's tone shifted instantly. It was no longer tense, it was calm, almost satisfied. "Perfect. Our plan worked exactly as we hoped." Eliza's blood ran cold. That other voice, it was Victoria, her personal assistant of 3 years. "The brake failure worked better than expected," Marcus continued, casual now, even cheerful. "All we have to do is wait." A soft rustle, then the sound of a kiss. "You're brilliant," Victoria whispered. Eliza's heart thundered. The monitor beside her picked up her racing pulse. She forced her breathing to steady. If they suspected she was conscious, they would finish the job. "How long before it's over?" Victoria asked impatiently. "Not long," Marcus replied smoothly. "Her lawyers have already confirmed I'll inherit control. The dealerships, the properties, all her accounts. Then, when the doctors suggest ending life support, I'll remind them how Eliza never wanted machines keeping her alive. I'll be the grieving, devoted husband, honoring her wishes." Their laughter cut through Eliza like a knife. Victoria paced the room, her heels tapping the floor. One call about an emergency, one broken brake line, and the car just happens to go off a bridge. No one's going to question a mechanical failure. The mechanic you paid was thorough. Eliza's stomach turned. The crash hadn't been an accident at all. Marcus had arranged it with Victoria's help. "Anyone suspicious?" Victoria asked. "No one," Marcus said with bitter amusement. "Everyone thinks we're the perfect couple. Only you and I know what she was really like. Always working, always in control, never treating me like her husband, only like an employee. Soon I'll have her fortune without her breathing down my neck, and I'll finally get what I deserve. Victoria chimed in, her tone dripping with resentment. A drawer slid open, looking for these. Marcus teased, Victoria gasped. Her diamond earrings, the ones she never let me touch. They're yours now. Everything she owned is yours. Victoria's perfume wafted closer to Eliza's bed. I always knew I'd wear them better. In that moment, Eliza made her choice. She would not reveal she was awake. She would feign a coma wait, plan, survive. Because if Marcus suspected the truth, he would make sure she never left the hospital alive the next morning. Eliza heard footsteps. Good morning, Miss Vance. I'm Dr. Chen. Let's take a look at your vitals. Gentle hands checked her monitors and adjusted her for the first time, she realized she might not be alone in this. Slowly, painfully, she cracked her eyes open just a sliver. The doctor froze. Miss Vance, you're awake. Eliza forced her eyes wide and raised a trembling finger to her lips. Please, she whispered hoarsely, don't tell anyone, not yet. Dr. Chen leaned in, startled. But your husband, he'll know, Eliza croaked, gripping his wrist with surprising strength. Marcus did this. He and Victoria. They want me dead. I heard them. The doctor's joy turned to grim concern. Ms. Vance, that's a serious accusation. It's the truth. He tampered with my car. He's forging my signature. If he finds out I'm conscious, he'll try again. Please, I need time. Dr. Chen studied her intensely, then gave a small nod. I'll report no change in your condition for now, but you can't hide forever. Eventually, the authorities must know. Not yet, Eliza pleaded. Marcus has too many connections. I need proof first. After a long pause, Dr. Chen agreed. Very well, but if I believe you're in immediate danger, I will act. Footsteps approached. Eliza quickly shut her eyes, slipping back into her facade. Marcus entered, his voice perfectly measured. Any change, doctor? No significant progress, Dr. Chen said smoothly. Eliza could hear the disappointment Marcus tried to mask. How long do you think she remained like this? It's impossible to say, the doctor replied. Some patients wake after days, others after years, and some, unfortunately, never recover. I see, Marcus murmured, feigning sorrow. I just want what's best for her. When Dr. Chen left, Marcus leaned closer to Eliza. His voice dropped, cold and sharp. Eliza, Eliza, Eliza. You should have just died in that crash. Always in control, never letting me breathe. Well, now you've given me a gift. Everyone feels sorry for poor Marcus. I've already taken over your empire. Soon, it'll all be mine. And Victoria is younger, smarter, and knows her place. She be the wife you never were. His breath brushed her ear. I hope you can hear this. I hope you know exactly what's happening, and that you can't stop it. That's the justice you deserve. When he left, Elisa let a single tear fall. How had she not seen the hatred behind his charming mask? Days later, Eliza discovered she wasn't entirely alone. Marcus came often, always the doting husband when others were present, but cruel and arrogant when the two of them were alone. Victoria accompanied him, boasting about property transfers and forged signatures. Eliza listened in silence, storing every word. One afternoon, Marcus complained about a stubborn obstacle. That operations manager, Diego, he's questioning paperwork, asking too many things. I fired him, but he's still poking around. Victoria scoffed. Get rid of him completely. Not yet. He knows too much. But soon. Eliza's heart stirred with hope. Diego loyal, sharp, unshakable. Maybe he could help. A few days later, her hope was confirmed. I told you you're not authorized to visit her anymore. Marcus snapped in the hallway. 5 years I worked with her, Mr. Thorne. I just want to see her, Diego insisted. She's unresponsive. The doctors have no hope, Marcus said smoothly. Then what's the harm in letting me in for 10 minutes? A pause, fine, 10 minutes. But this is the last time. The door shut. Diego approached her bed. His voice was soft, genuine. Hey, Eliza, it's Diego. Things at the company, they're bad. Marcus is selling everything, firing people who were with you from the beginning. He says he has your power of attorney. Something's off, and your accident. It doesn't sit right. The police barely investigated. I've been digging. Eliza couldn't stop a tear from slipping down. Her cheek. Diego froze. Eliza, you can hear me. His voice trembled with hope. I'll find out what really happened. I promise. The door burst open. Marcus's cold voice cut through the air. Time's up. And Eliza could hear the new determination in his voice. Well, you've done that. Don't come back, Diego. You're not welcome here anymore. After Diego left, Marcus came over to Eliza's bedside. Loyal employees. He scoffed, always sticking their noses where they don't belong. Don't you worry. Dear wife, he won't be a problem for long. Alyssa's thoughts raced. She needed to find a way to communicate with Diego, but how? How could she get a message to him without Marcus discovering she was conscious? Do you believe Diego can be trusted? Or is he a liability? Why? A glimmer of hope. 2 weeks after Eliza first regained consciousness, she overheard a conversation that chilled her to Theban. I'd like to discuss end-of-life options for my wife, Marcus was saying to Dr. Chen. They were standing just inside her room. Marcus had requested a private consultation, Mr. Thorne. While a wife's condition has not improved, it has not deteriorated either, Dr. Chen replied cautiously. It's quite early to be having this discussion. Dr. Ickno, my wife. Eliza was always very clear about not wanting to be kept alive in machines if there was no hope of recovery. You yourself said her chances of waking up diminish with each passing day. That is generally true, but I need closure. Dr. Marcus interrupted, his voice cracking with what Eliza knew was feigned emotion. Watching her like this day in and day out, it's destroying me. And running her business affairs while dealing with this emotional burden, I'm barely holding myself together. Dr. Chen was silent for a moment. Mr. Thorne, I understand this is difficult, but we don't typically consider withdrawing life support until every possibility for recovery has been exhausted. Your wife is breathing on her own. Her brain shows activity. These are positive signs. But she's not waking up, Marcus pressed. How long do I have to wait before we can make this decision? Weeks, months, years. That is not what Elisa would have wanted. Let me be clear, Dr. Chen said firmly. As her physician, I would not support the withdrawal of care at this stage. It would be premature and, in my professional opinion, inappropriate. I see, Marcus said, his voice turning cold. Perhaps I should speak with the hospital administration about bringing in another physician for a second opinion. someone who might be more sympathetic to our situation. That is your right, Dr. Chen replied stiffly. But I trust any ethical physician would give you the same answer at this stage. We shall see, Marcus said. Thank you for your time, Doctor. After Dr. Chen left, Marcus came over to Eliza's bedside. Will Wei's inspired such misguided loyalty, he muttered. First Diego, now this doctor. But it doesn't matter. I'll find someone more cooperative. Someone who understands that sometimes letting go is the kindest option. Eliza felt terror building. Inside her, Marcus was actively trying to have her life support withdrawn. He was no longer content to wait for nature to take its course. He wanted her dead. And soon later, that night, when the room was silent and Eliza was alone, the door opened softly. Light footsteps approached her bed. Miss Vance, it's Sarah, your night nurse. Eliza remained perfectly still, maintaining her coma facade. I'm just checking on your vitals, Sarah continued, adjusting something on thermometers. Then her voice dropped to a whisper. Dr. Chan asked me to keep an extra eye on you, to let him know if anything unusual happens with your husband's visits. Eliza felt her pulse quicken slightly. Your heart rate just spiked, Sarah noted. I've been watching you for a while now, Ms. Vance. I've noticed things like your heart rate changes when certain people are in the room, the tear when your manager visited, the tension in your face when your husband is here. Sarah leaned in. Miss Vance, if you can hear me, I want you to know you're not alone. Dr. Chen has concerns, and so do I, if you can hear me. If you're in there, blink. Eliza hesitated. Could she trust this nurse? Was this a trap set by Marcus? Your husband isn't here. Sarah reassured her as if reading her thoughts. It's just you and me. If you can hear me, please give me some sign. Taking a leap of faith, Eliza slowly opened her eyes. Sarah gasped softly. Her eyes went wide. You're conscious, she whispered. Please, Eliza gasped, her voice weak from disuse. He can't know, your husband. Eliza nodded slightly. He did this to me, the accident. He wants me dead. Sarah looked stunned. Dr. Chen suspected something wasn't right. But this, he's trying to have my life, Saprotron. Eliza whispered urgently. He's stealing everything I own. Please, I need help. I'll tell Dr. Chen right away, Sarah said. We should contact the police. No, Eliza interrupted. Not yet. Marcus has friends in the department. I need proof first. Proof of what he did. How can I help? Sarah asked with hesitation. Help me get strong, Eliza pleaded. And help me find a way to communicate with Diego, my former operations manager. He already suspects. He might be able to find proof of what Marcus has done. Sarah nodded. I can do that, and I have something else that might interest you. There's a man who has been coming to the hospital asking about you. Security keeps turning him away because he's not on your approved visitor list. A man who, he says his name is Mateo. He says he was there when your car went off the bridge, that he pulled you out before the car exploded. Your husband has been telling everyone you were rescued by emergency services, but this man insists it was him. Eliza felt a jolt of recognition. She had a vague recollection of rough hands pulling her from the wreckage, a bearded face hovering over her, telling her to hold on. Find him, Alyssa whispered. Please, I will, Sarah promised. And in the meantime, I'll help you get your strength back when no one is around. If your husband is planning what you say, you'll need to be ready. For the first time, Badge sensed she had awoken to her nightmare. Eliza felt a flicker of hope. She was no longer alone. She had allies. Now she just needed to stay alive long enough to expose the truth. What do you think is a more significant form of evidence? The testimony of an eyewitness or hard physical proof? A confluence of allies. The next morning, when Eliza was alone, Sarah slipped into her room carrying a small duffel bag. "Good morning," she whispered, checking to make sure the door was completely closed. "I brought some things to help with your physical therapy." Eliza opened her eyes, still marveling at the simple freedom of Bible to do so when it was safe. "Any news about Matteo?" "I found him," Sarah confirmed, pulling small hand weights and resistance bands from her bag. "He's been living under the bridge where your accident happened. He seems to feel responsible for you in some way." "How did you find him?" "I asked at the shelter where I volunteer on the weekends. He comes by for meals sometimes." Sarah helped Eliza sit up slightly, propping up her back. "He's agreed. Tommy at me after my shift today. I'll bring him here tomorrow night when the floor is quiet." "Thank you," Eliza sighed sincerely. "What about Diego?" "That's more complicated. Your husband has specifically instructed security to not let him into the building, but I have an idea about that too." Sarah showed Eliza how to grasp one of the small weights. "Let's work on your hand strength first. You've lost muscle, tone from being immobile." As they went through gentle exercises, Sarah explained her plan. "I have a friend who works at your main dealership. I can pass a message to Diego through her. If he can meet me away from the hospital, we can figure out a way for him to see you without your husband knowing." Eliza winced at the soreness in her atrial muscles, but pushed through. "Marcus is getting more aggressive with withdrawing me life support. He's looking for a different doctor who will approve it. Dr. Chen is fighting it," Sarah assured her. "He's documenting every positive sign in your condition to build a case against the withdrawal of care." But what? Your husband is persistent, and he's telling everyone how devoted he is to honoring your wishes." Sarah helped Eliza extend her arm carefully, very convincing. "Even some of the staff are starting to sympathize with him." "He's always been good at manipulate Temple," Eliza said bitterly. "It's why I never saw the truth until it was too late." They worked in silence for a few minutes. Eliza fighting through the discomfort of muscles waking up after weeks of inactivity. "Can I ask you something personal?" Sarah said finally. "Of course. Why is he doing this? Just for your money?" "I think it started that way." Eliza sighed. "Marcus came into my life when my business was just beginning take off. He was charming, attentive, everything I thought I wanted. I was so busy building my company that I didn't see what was really going on, which ways that he resented my success, my independence. He wanted the lifestyle Mimini could provide him, but he hated that it came from me. And then he met Victoria, my assistant. She made him feel powerful in ways I never did. They've been planning this for over a year from what I've overheard." Sarah shook her head. "It's hard to imagine living with someone who could do that. The worst part is that I never saw it coming." Eliza said, "I thought we were happy, or at least content. I knew we had grown apart, but murder." She laughed without humor. "I never suspected hated me enough to want to kill me." "We will stop him," Sarah promised, helping Eliza lie back down. "But for now, you need to rest. I'll be back tonight with more exercises, and tomorrow I'll bring Matteo." After Sarah left, Eliza closed her eyes, not finding this time, but truly resting. Her mind was clearer now than it had been since the accident, and with clarity came determination. Marcus may have tried to take everything from her, But he had underestimated her. He always had. The next night, true to her word, Sarah returned with a visitor, Eliza, who had been feigning unconsciousness, as she always did when the door opened, heard 2 pairs of footsteps enter her room. "It's just us," Sarah whispered. "You can open your eyes." Eliza looked up to see Sarah standing beside a tall, bearded man in worn clothes. He looked at Eliza with a mixture of shock and relief. "You're awake," he said. His voice was but until Matteo, Eliza said, recognizing him from her fragmented memories. "You pulled me from the car." He nodded, moving awkwardly to the side of her bed. "I didn't think you'd remember that part." "Not clearly," Eliza admitted, "but I remember someone telling me to hold on." "That was you, wasn't it?" "Yeah." Mattia shifted uncomfortably, clearly not used to being the center of attention. "I was living under that bridge, heard the crash, saw your car go over. By the time I got there, the water was already filling it. I had to do something." "You saved my life," Eliza said softly. Matteo shrugged. "Didn't do Mac good if your husband's trying to finish the job." Eliza exchanged a look with Sarah. "You know about that. Evie been watching him," Matteo said. Simply, something didn't seem right from the start. The way he acted at the accident scene, it wasn't right. "What do you mean?" Eliza asked, sitting up straighter. "When the paramedics got there, he was, I don't know, not like Eamon, whose wife almost just died. He was asking about your condition. Sure, it was like he was checking off boxes. And then later, I saw him at your dealership. My dealership, when, a couple of days after the accident, I went there because I found your business card in the car when I pulled you out. I figured Somian should know what really happened. But when I got there, I saw him in the parking lot with that woman, Victoria," Eliza supplied. "Yeah, her. They were celebrating, hugging, laughing. It wasn't right." Matteo eyes darkened, so I started paying attention. "And then I heard them talking about the brakes, the dealership. When you heard them admit they tampered with my car," Matteo nodded. "They didn't see me. I was scavenging for cans from the dealership dumpster. They were out back. They thought they were alone. The woman, Victoria, was worried about the police investigation. Your husband told her not to worry. Thath paid the mechanic well to make it look like a simple brake failure from wear and tear." Matteo, Eliza spoke gently. "Would you be willing to tell this to the police?" He hesitated. "The police and me don't exactly get along. And who would believe me over a rich businessman?" "They would if we had proof," Sarah interjected. "Matteo, did you happen to see what mechanic they were talking about?" "Better than that," Matteo said, reaching into his jacket pocket. "I went to the junkyard where they took your car. Security's pretty lax there at night. I found this." He pulled out a plastic bag containing what looked like damaged brake line components. The mechanic cut the line almost all the way through, but made it look like normal wear and tear. Matteo explained. "These pieces still have the tool marks on them. A forensic expert could prove it wasn't an accidental failure." Eliza stared at the in awe. "Matteo, this is, I don't know what to say." "Don't say anything," he replied. "I've been keeping the pieces safe. We still need to catch them admitting to what they did. Your word against theirs isn't enough. And these pieces alone won't prove who did their cutting." Sarah touched Eliza's shoulder. "I have more news. I passed a message to Diego. He's going to meet me tomorrow at the coffee shop across the street. He told him it was about you, but I haven't explained everything yet." "Good," Eliza said, her mind racing with possibilities. We need to be careful about how much we share and with whom. Marcus has been forging my signature on documents. Diego could help prove that. There's something else you should know, Sarah said with hesitation. Your husband came in earlier today while you were sleeping. He was with another doctor, a specialist from another hospital. They were discussing your condition, and the new doctor seemed much more receptive to the idea of withdrawing care. Eliza felt a cold fear wash over her. How soon? I'm not sure, but from what I overheard, they are talking about making a decision within the week. Then we don't have much time, Eliza said firmly. We need to coordinate our efforts. Sarah, when you meet with Diego tomorrow, bring him up to speed. But be careful. If Marcus suspects anything, he might accelerate his plans. I'll be careful, Sarah promised. Mateo, Eliza continued, can you keep those brake components safe? They're the best. Physical evidence? He nodded. Got them hidden where no one will find them. Good. And I need to keep getting my strength back, Eliza said, determination hounding her voice. When the time comes to confront Marcus, I need to be ready. As they finalized their plans, Eliza felt something she hadn't experienced since before the accident. Purpose. She was no longer just surviving, she was fighting. And with these unexpected allies at her side, she finally had a chance at justice. What do you think is the riskiest part of Eliza's plan? The trap is sprung. The next evening, Sarah returned to Eliza's room, looking energized. I met with Diego, she said as soon as she closed the door. He's been investigating Marcus on his own. He's already put together quite a bit of evidence. Eliza sat up eagerly. What kind of evidence? Financial records showing that Marcus has been systematically transferring your assets into new accounts under his control, forged signatures on legal documents, and he's found a pattern in Marcus's past that might interest you. What pattern? Sarah helped Eliza with her exercises, as she explained. Before Marcus met you, he dated 2 other wealthy women. Both relationships ended when the women suddenly experienced financial troubles. One lost her business in what appeared to be a series of bad investments. The other suffered identity theft, which resulted in massive debt. Diego is certain Marcus was responsible. He's been tracking these women down. One of them is willing to talk about what happened. Eliza processed this information as she worked on strengthening her legs. So, she wasn't his first target, just the most ambitious. Exactly. But here's the good news. Diego has contacts at the district attorney's office who aren't connected with Marcus' friends in the local police. He believes we have enough to building a case, but we need something definitive. Marcus and Victoria explicitly discussing their plan, and we need it fast. Marcus is pushing to have my life support withdrawn in a matter of days, Eliza added grimly. Sarah nodded, which is why Diego brought this. She reached into her pocket and pulled out what looked like a small decorative pin. It's a recording device. We can hide it in your room to capture their conversations when they think no one is listening. Will it work? Eliza asked, examining the tiny device. Diego says it has excellent audio quality and can record for hours. The challenge is hiding it somewhere Marcus won't notice, but where it can still pick up their voices clearly. They decided to place the device on the underside of their nightstand, carefully positioning it to capture conversations around Eliza's bed. Now we wait, Sarah said, and we hope they say something incriminating enough to use against them. And if they don't, Eliza asked. Sarah's expression grew serious. Then Dr. Chen and I will have to take official action based on our suspicions. It might not be enough to prove Marcus' guilt, but it should be now, to stop him from having your life support withdrawn while an investigation is conducted. The next day, Eliza maintained her Coma facade as Marcus arrived with Victoria. They seemed particularly animated. "It's all set," Marcus was saying as he walked in. "I've convinced the hospital ethics committee to meet tomorrow and discuss a case. The new specialist is fully on board with our perspective." "How long after the meeting until they, Victoria asked. "If all goes as planned, they could be withdrawing life support as soon as the day after tomorrow." Marcus seemed pleased with himself. Dr. Chen is still objecting, of course, but he's being overruled. I've made a great impression as the devoted husband, making the difficult but loving decision. Victoria laughed. "You always were a good actor." "It's almost over, darling," Marcus said, and Eliza could hear the sound of them kissing. "By this time tomorrow, we'll be finalizing the last of Thepapore work. I've already transferred most of the important assets. The dealerships are next." "What about that manager, Diego? Still causing problems?" "Not for long," Marcus said darkly. "I've arranged for some discrepancies to be found in the main dealership's accounting. By fair time, I'm done. He'll be facing embezzlement charges." Eliza felt a surge of rage. Marcus was not only trying to kill her, he was also planning to destroy Diego's reputation and possibly send him to prison. "You think of everything," Victoria purred. "That's why I love you." "The accident should have just killed her outright," Marcus said, his voice hardening as he presumably looked at Eliza. "But this way works, too. Cleaner in some respects. No one will question a grieving husband inheriting his wife's fortune after making the painful decision to let her go when there was no hope of recovery. How much longer do we have to keep visiting her like this?" Victoria wed. "It's depressing, only until it's done. We need to keep up appearances. Besides," Marcus added with a cold laugh, "I rather enjoy these little talks, telling her exactly what we've done, knowing she can't do a thing about it." "You're evil," Victoria teased. "You have no idea," Marcus replied. "Now, let's go. We have a meeting with Thelawires to finalize the paperwork for the dealership transfer. By the time Eliza flatlines, it will all be legolamine." After they left, Eliza waited several minutes to make sure they weren't coming back. Then she opened her eyes. The recording device had captured everything. They now had proof of Marcus' intentions, his admission, a booth accident, and his plan to frame Diego. It was time to set her own plan in motion. That night, Sarah, Delua, Diego, and Mateo met in Eliza's room for a final strategy session. "The recording is clear," Diego confirmed, after listening to it. "Combined with Thebric components Mateo recovered, and the financial documentation I've put together, we have a solid case. But one need to move fast," Sarah added. "The ethics committee meets tomorrow at 10 a.m. if they approve the withdrawal of care. Marcus could have life support from Eliza as early as the next morning. So, what's the plan?" Mateo asked, looking at them all. Eliza sat up straighter in her bed. Stronger now after days of secret physical therapy. "Marcus and Victoria are coming here tomorrow afternoon to meet with the lawyer. They plan to finalize the paperwork to transfer my dealerships. That's our window. I've spoken with Detective Rodriguez from the district attorney's office," Diego said, nodding. "She's been investigating financial crimes and has had Marcus on her radar for some time, though she never had enough evidence to move forward. She'll pair with officers," Sarah added. Waiting for our signal, Eliza took a deep breath. When Marcus and Victoria are here discussing the final details of their plan, thinking I can't hear them, that's when I'll reveal I've been conscious the whole time. Are you sure you're strong? Enough, Sarah asked with concern. I have to be, Eliza said firmly. Marcus needs to see me awake, Tokno. I heard everything, that I know exactly what he did. It's risky, Mattia warned. He might turn violent when he realizes you've been faking it. That's why all of you will be nearby, Eliza said. And why Detective Rodriguez and her officers will be right outside. They've finalized the details of their plan, each person knowing their part, as Herile's left to get some rest before the confrontation. Eliza lay back in her bed, her mind trussing. Tomorrow would change everything. Either she would reclaim her life and justice would be served, or Marcus would find a way to silence her permanently. Either way, the Cherid would finally be over. Do you believe Eliza is being too risky by confronting Marcus face to face? Why is it so important for her to do this? The grand finale, the next morning, dawned with a tense energy. Eliza went through her usual routine of feigning unconsciousness during the shift change and morning rounds. Dr. Chen came in for his examination, speaking to her normally for the benefit of any observers while whispering updates. The ethics committee is meeting now, he murmured as he checked her vitals. I've submitted all the medical evidence against the withdrawal of care. But Marcus' new specialist is quite persuasive, and Marcus himself put on a great performance about honoring your wishes. Eliza squeezed his hand lightly in acknowledgement. Detective Rodriguez is in position, Dr. Chen continued in a low voice. She has officers stationed throughout the floor, dressed as hospital staff. No one will recognize them. After he left, Eliza focused on controlling her breathing and staying calm. Everything hinged on the timina. Sarah had helped her apply a minimal amount of makeup early that morning, just enough to give her some color, but not so much that Marcus would notice. The recording device was in place with a fresh battery to ensure it captured everything. Around noon, Sarah slipped in to give Eliza an update. The ethics committee has approved the withdrawal of care, she said grimly. They've scheduled it for tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. Eliza felt a chill. So, this is our only chance. Marcus and Victoria will be here at 2 p.m. with the lawyer. Diego and Mateo are already in position. Detective Rodriguez has reviewed all of our evidence and is prepared to make arrests based on what she already has, but the recording we get today will seal the case. Sarah helped Eliza sit up and stretch, working through their now familiar exercise routine designed to prepare her for what was to come. By the time Sarah left to take her position, Eliza felt as ready as she could be. At 2 p.m. on the dot, Eliza heard Marcus' voice in the hallway, along with Victoria's and a third voice she didn't recognize, presumably the lawyer's. She slipped back into her coma position, eyes closed, breathing even, for she relaxed. The door opened, and 3 people entered. As you can see, counsel, my wife's condition remains unchanged, Marcus was saying, his voice carrying that perfect practiced note of grief. The ethics committee has approved the withdrawal of care for tomorrow morning. I understand, Mr. Thorne, the lawyer replied, and you're certain this is what your wife would have wanted? Absolutely, Marcus affirmed. Eliza was always clear about not wanting extraordinary measures if there was no hope of recovery. As painful as it is, I am honoring her wishes. Very well, the lawyer said. Let's review the final transfer documents for the dealerships. Once these are signed, All of Ms. Vance Business holdings will be legally under your control. Eliza heard the rustle of papers, the scraping of chairs as they sat down near her bed. Just to confirm, the lawyer continued, these transfers are being made under the power of attorney Ms. Vance granted you prior to her accident. That is correct. Marcus lied smoothly. Eliza trusted me implicitly with all offer affairs. Eliza had never signed such a document, and they all knew it. FEPOA of attorney Marcus was using was a forgery. The timing is fortunate, the lawyer remarked. Having these transfers complete before tomorrow's procedure will simplify the inheritance considerably. Yes, it will, Marcus assented. Eliza would have wanted a clean transition with minimal disruption to the businesses she built. The casual hypocrisy of his words made Eliza's blood boil, but she maintained her facade. As the lawyer guided Marcus through the documents, explaining various clauses and requirements, Victoria grew impatient. Could we speed this up? She asked abruptly. This room is depressing. Victoria Marcus chided at her softly. Show some respect. Why? Victoria scoffed in a low voice. She can't hear us, and by this time tomorrow, she'll be gone anyway. Still, the lawyer said, sounding uncomfortable. Perhaps we should continue this in the consultation room. Not necessary, Marcus said firmly. I want to be here with my wife. Let's continue. They proceeded through more documents, Marcus asking occasional questions about various legal points. Eliza carefully controlled her breathing, waiting for the right moment. Finally, the lawyer said, That's everything, Mr. Thorne. If you'll just sign here, the transfer will be complete. Gladly, Marcus replied. Eliza could picture him signing with a flourish, finally achieving what he had been plotting for so long. This was the moment to act. And if Ms. Vance were to unexpectedly recover, the lawyer asked Adalmos as an afterthought. There was a pause. Then Marcus laughed softly. Shouldn't, but hypothetically, the lawyer pressed. These transfers would be subject to challenge if she regained consciousness and disputed them. Trust me, counsel, Marcus said coldly. That won't be a problem after tomorrow. I just want to be clear about all possibilities, the lawyer insisted. Asaya legal counsel, the accident should have just killed her properly. Victoria interrupted impatiently. We wouldn't even be having this conversation if the bra line had failed correctly. Victoria Marcus hissed. Not now. What? He's your lawyer, isn't he? And she can't hear us. Victoria's voice moved closer to Eliza's bedside. Look at her, completely gone. Just an empty shell taking up space. The lawyer cleared his throat uncomfortably. I think we should. By this time tomorrow, we will finally be free of her, Marcus said, his voice no stripped of all pretense of care or concern. The ventilator comes off at 9 a.m. and that's it. The doctors say it shouldn't take long after that. Eliza had heard enough. It was time. Slowly, deliberately. She opened her eyes. The room came into focus. Marcus and Victoria stood near the foot of her bed, the lawyer gathering papers by the window, all three of them with their backs to her. Eliza sat up slightly and said in a clear, firm voice, I wouldn't want that at all, Marcus. The effect was instantaneous. The lawyer dropped his papers. And Marcus turned slowly, his face draining of colour as Hestered at his very conscious wife. Eliza, he whispered, shock and horror mingling in his expression. Surprise, Eliza said, her voice stronger than Evench had expected. I've been awake for weeks. That's impossible, Marcus stammered. The doctor said, they said what I asked them to say. Eliza interrupted him. After I overheard you and Victoria celebrating your successful plane, the day I regained consciousness. Victoria backed away toward the door. She's confused. Brain damage. She doesn't know what she's saying. I know exactly what I'm saying, Elisa countered. I know you tampered with my brakes. I know you've been forging my signature and stealing my assets. And I know you plan to finish the job tomorrow having my life support withdrawn. Marcus seemed to regain his footing, his heart giving way to calculation. Eliza, darling, you've been through a traumatic experience. Your mind is playing tricks on you. Save it. Marcus. Eliza cut him off. I heard everything. Every conversation. Every plan, every cruel comment you made at my bedside, thinking I couldn't hear you. The lawyer moved toward the door. I should go. This is clearly a private matter. Stay right there, a new voice commanded as the door opened. Detective Rodriguez entered, flanked by 2 uniformed officers. No one is leaving yet. Marcus's eyes darted between Eliza and the detective. What is this? Marcus Thorne, Detective Rodriguez said formally. You were under arrest for attempted murder, fraud, and conspiracy. This is ridiculous, Marcus protested, his charm instantly returning. My wife just woke from a coma. She's confused, disoriented. Whatever she thinks she heard, we don't need her testimony, the detective interrupted, though it will certainly help. She held up a small device. We have recordings of your conversations in this room. Very incriminating conversations. You can't record people without their knowledge, Marcus argued. That's illegal. Any recording would be inadmissible. Actually, Diego said, walking into the room with Sarah and Mateo behind him in this state. Only one party needs to consent to a recording, and Ms. Vance consented, Sarah added. And we have more than just recordings, Mateo added, stepping forward with the plastic bag containing the brake components. Physical evidence of tampering with her car. Victoria suddenly tried to bolt for the door, shoving past one of the but was quickly apprehended in the hallway. Marcus' facade finally cracked, his face contorted with rage as he looked at Eliza.